The sky turned red as Jack Harmon looked through his telescope. He had been watching the stars for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like this. 7 large objects had appeared at the edge of the solar system overnight. They were moving slowly toward Earth. Jack called his boss right away. "Sir, you need to see this." Within hours, the news was everywhere. Strange ships had entered our solar system. No one knew what they were or where they came from. The world held its breath. Olivia Winters stood in the military command center watching the large screen that showed the alien ships. As the head of Earth's defense forces, she had trained for many things, but not this. "How long until they reach Earth?" she asked. "At their current speed, about 2 weeks," said a young officer. Olivia nodded. "Send a message to all stations. I want every defense satellite ready." On the other side of the room, Sam Mitchell worked with his team of language experts. Their job was to find a way to talk to the visitors. Sam had created computer programs that could translate any human language. But would they work on alien words? "Are you getting anything?" Olivia asked as she walked over to Sam's station. Sam shook his head. "We've sent greetings in 47 languages, including math patterns." No response. The world's leaders decided to send a ship to meet the aliens. The USS Harmony carried scientists and diplomats. Its mission was peaceful contact. Jack watched from mission control as the Harmony approached the alien fleet. His heart beat faster as the distance closed. The Harmony sent messages of peace and friendship. The aliens remained silent. Then it happened. A beam of bright light shot from the largest alien ship. The Harmony exploded into a cloud of metal and fire. Over 200 people died in an instant. They didn't even warn them. Jack whispered. The room around him fell silent. The next day, the aliens attacked Mars colony. Earth watched in horror as the settlement of 50,000 people was destroyed. The aliens sent videos of the attack to every TV and computer on Earth. They wanted humans to see the dying. "They're studying us," Sam said during the emergency meeting. "Look at these signal patterns. They change when humans show fear. It's like they're measuring our reaction." Jack looked at the data Sam had collected. These energy readings from their ship spiked during the attacks, specifically when people are running and screaming. Olivia leaned forward. "What are you saying?" "I think they feed on fear," Jack said. "Not physically, maybe, but something about human fear gives them energy or pleasure." The attacks continued. London, Beijing, New York. The aliens, now called the Vorkath by the media, after a scientist heard the name in a transmission, didn't just destroy. They terrorized. They took their time. They made sure to break human spirits before taking human lives. Governments around the world united under a single command structure with Olivia as the military coordinator. Resources were pooled. Scientists worked together. But the Vorkath technology was too advanced. Human weapons hardly damaged their ships. Jack worked day and night analyzing data from the attacks. He noticed something strange about an incident in Chicago. A group of soldiers had stood their ground against the Vorkath. Instead of running in fear, they had charged forward in anger. The Vorkath had actually pulled back. "Play that again," Jack told his assistant. He watched the footage carefully. "See how the alien ship changes course? It moved away from the soldiers who were attacking." Jack brought his findings to Olivia. "I think they avoid direct contact with humans who show anger instead of fear." Olivia looked skeptical. "That doesn't make sense. They have better weapons. Why would they fear angry humans?" "Not fear them," Jack explained. "Avoid them, like how we avoid food that tastes bad. What if human anger is unpleasant to them?" Sam joined the conversation. "The transmission patterns support this. When humans show fear, the Vorkath signals increase in complexity. When humans show anger, the signals become erratic." Olivia considered this. "So you're saying they feed on our fear, and our anger is like poison to them?" "It's just a theory," Jack said, "but it's something." 3 weeks after the first attack, half of Earth's major cities were destroyed. Billions of people hid in bunkers in rural areas. The Vorkath methodology became clear. They were psychological predators. They didn't just want Earth. They wanted to harvest human emotions. Jack set up a test. During the next Vorkath attack on a small town in Colorado, Olivia sent in soldiers who had been told to focus on their anger, to remember what the Vorkath had done to their families and homes, to fight with rage instead of fear. Jack, Sam, and Olivia watched from the command center. The soldiers engaged the Vorkath ground forces, smaller alien units that had left the main ships. When the human soldiers approached with visible anger and determination, the Vorkath hesitated. "It's working," Sam said as he watched the monitor. For the first time, humans pushed back the Vorkath forces. The aliens retreated to their ships. It wasn't a big victory, but it was a start. Olivia immediately began planning. "We need to spread this information to all remaining military units and civilian groups. Fight with anger, not fear." Jack nodded. "And we need to understand why this works. There might be a way to use this weakness against them on a larger scale." Sam looked at the communications data. The Vorkath transmissions during the retreat contained new patterns. "I think they're confused by what happened." That night, as Jack looked up at the red sky where Vorkath ships now hovered over major cities, he felt something he hadn't felt since the invasion began. Hope. Humans had lost much in the attacks. Homes, cities, loved ones. But they had gained something too, a reason to fight back. The Vorkath had come to feed on human fear. They didn't expect humans to turn fear into anger. They didn't understand that pushing humans to the edge would unite them. The aliens had made a critical mistake. They had given humanity a reason to fight back. 1 month after the first Vorkath attack, Earth was a different place. Broken buildings reached toward the sky like burned fingers. Roads were cracked and empty. The human population had dropped from billions to millions in just weeks. Jack Harmon now worked from an underground base in what used to be Colorado. The facility had been built during the Cold War, hidden deep in a mountain. It was one of the few places the Vorkath hadn't found yet. Jack looked up as Olivia Winters entered his lab. Her face was thinner than a month ago. They all had lost weight. "We just got a transmission from a survivor group in Utah," Olivia said. "They fought off a Vorkath ground unit using the anger technique." Jack nodded. "That's the 7th confirmed success the theory is holding up." Before they could continue, Sam Mitchell rushed into the room. "We've got someone coming in from Mars Colony. Says he has information about the Vorkath." A few hours later, they met Paul Rivera. His clothes were dirty and torn. His eyes had the empty look of someone who had seen too much. "I worked in the communication center at Mars Colony," Paul explained. "When the attack started, I hid in a storage room. I saw things, how the Vorkath operated." "Tell us everything," Olivia said. Paul described how the Vorkath had separated the colonists. They put the scared ones in one group, the angry ones in another. The scared ones were taken to their ships. The angry ones were killed right away. Jack leaned forward. "So they do have a preference." Paul nodded. "They would scan people somehow. When someone showed fear, the Vorkath would make a sound, almost like they were enjoying it. When someone showed anger, they backed away. This matched what Jack had observed. We need to understand why." Sam had been working on the Vorkath communication patterns. "I don't think they use language like we do. Their signals change based on emotional states. It's like they talk through feelings." "Emotional wavelengths," Jack said. "That would explain their reaction to human emotions. They're more sensitive to our feelings than we are." Olivia saw the military advantage immediately. "If they feed on fear but can't stand anger, we have a weapon." The next day, Olivia organized a mission. A small team would attack a Vorkath harvester ship that had landed in what used to be Denver. The team members were trained to focus on their anger, to push away fear. Jack watched from the command center as the team approached the alien ship. The soldiers moved with purpose, their faces set with determination. When the Vorkath ground units came out to meet them, the humans didn't run. They charged forward. The Vorkath scattered, moving back toward their ship. The human team was able to plant explosives on the ship's hull. When they detonated, the harvester ship crashed to the ground. "First major victory," Olivia said, her voice steady despite the excitement Jack could see in her eyes. But the celebration was short-lived. That evening, Sam discovered something terrible in the Vorkath transmissions. "They're not just killing humans," Sam said, his face pale. "They're processing them, in orbit. These signals show movement of human captives to space stations." "Processing how?" Jack asked, though he feared the answer. "Emotional extraction," Sam said. "They're draining fear from humans systematically, keeping them alive but in constant terror." The room fell silent. Jack felt sick. Olivia's hands formed fists. "We need to destroy those stations," she said. The next weeks were dark. The world governments collapsed as communication networks failed. Small groups of humans fought back against the Vorkath, but coordination was difficult. Jack and Paul worked together to develop a device that might help. "It's a neural shield," Jack explained to Olivia. "It blocks the Vorkath's ability to detect human emotions." "Will it work?" Olivia asked. "In theory," Paul said. "But we need to test it." Olivia's resistance groups grew stronger. They developed hit-and-run tactics against Vorkath ground forces, but a major strike against a Vorkath base failed badly. Olivia lost half her command team. Jack found her later sitting alone in the dark control room. "It's my fault," she said. "I sent them in too soon." "You're fighting an enemy with technology we barely understand," Jack said. "Everyone knows the risks." Olivia nodded but didn't speak. Jack sat with her in silence. The next morning, Sam burst into the conference room where Jack, Olivia, and Paul were planning their next move. "I found something," Sam said, eyes wide. "The Vorkath aren't just avoiding anger. They're physically affected by certain human emotions." He showed them data from recent encounters. "Look at these readings. When humans show determination, hope, or righteous anger, the Vorkath signals become erratic, almost like they're in pain." "Those emotions are toxic to them?" Jack asked. "I think so," Sam said. "And I think that's why they waited so long to attack. Earth, our emotional range is dangerous to them." Paul looked thoughtful. "On Mars, they always attacked people who were praying or helping others first. I thought it was random, but maybe it wasn't." Olivia stood up. "If human emotions can hurt them, then we have more than just a defense. We have a weapon." For the first time in weeks, Jack felt a surge of real hope. The Vorkath had come to Earth, expecting easy prey. They thought humans would break under fear and terror. They didn't understand what they were dealing with. "We need to test this," Jack said. "We need to see exactly which emotions hurt them most. And we need to find a way to project those emotions," Sam added. "To turn them into a weapon the Vorkath can't defend against." Olivia nodded. "The Vorkath think they know human weakness, but they don't understand human strength. Outside the mountain base, the world lay in ruins. Millions were dead or captured. The Vorkath still controlled the skies. But something was changing. Across the world, small groups of humans were fighting back. Not with just guns and bombs, but with the one thing the Vorkath never expected: the human ability to turn despair into determination, fear into courage, and tragedy into a reason to fight harder than ever before. 8 months had passed since the Vorkath first appeared in Earth's skies. Winter turned to spring, though few noticed the change in seasons. Most humans now lived underground or in hidden places far from cities. Jack Harmon stood in his lab, looking at the device on the table. It was about the size of a small backpack with wires and metal parts sticking out from all sides. It didn't look impressive, but it represented humanity's best hope. "The rage amplifier," Jack said to Olivia as she entered the room. "It works by taking human anger and broadcasting it on the same frequencies the Vorkath use to communicate." Olivia picked up the device. "So it's like shouting in their ears." "More like poison gas," Jack said. "Their systems are sensitive to our emotions. This makes those emotions louder." Sam Mitchell joined them, carrying a tablet with test results. The first field test was successful. A team used it against a Vorkath patrol. The aliens actually retreated without fighting. Olivia nodded, satisfied. "How many can we make?" "With our current resources, maybe 50, Jack said. "But I've sent the plans to other resistance bases. They can build their own." Across what remained of human civilization, Olivia had built a network. Survivors from military bases, police, stations, and civilian groups had formed a unified resistance. They communicated using old radio equipment and human messengers who traveled between bases. Sam had developed special training for soldiers. It's not enough to just be angry, he explained to a group of fighters. You need to focus on specific emotions. Determination works best. Think about what you're fighting for, not what you're fighting against. In an old factory hidden in the mountains, Laura Bennett worked with a team of engineers. They had spent months collecting broken computers, car parts, and anything else they could find. Now they were building weapons. The Vorkath have sensitive eyes, Laura told Jack when he visited the factory. These light weapons blind them temporarily, and we've modified sound equipment to hit frequencies that hurt them. The resistance was growing stronger. Small victories became more common. A Vorkath scout ship shot down in Arizona. A patrol wiped out in the ruins of Chicago. An emotion processor facility destroyed in what used to be Toronto. But the Vorkath were learning too. Their ships now had shields that blocked some of the emotional projections. Their ground troops wore helmets that protected against the light and sound weapons. Jack, Sam, and Paul were studying a captured Vorkath helmet when they made a discovery. Look at this material, Jack said, pointing to the inside of the helmet. It blocks emotional wavelengths from reaching the Vorkath brain. But it's thin right here, near what would be their version of ears. Paul nodded. So they can still hear their own kind, but block human emotions. Which means they're more afraid of our feelings than our bullets, Sam said. The biggest breakthrough came when a resistance team discovered a Vorkath ship that was different from the others. It was larger but had fewer weapons. It stayed back during attacks. It's a processor ship, Paul said after studying the surveillance photos. The place where they convert human fear into whatever they use for food or energy. Olivia immediately began planning an attack. If we can destroy one of these, it might hurt them more than taking out 10 fighter ships. The mission was dangerous. 40 of their best fighters would attack the processor ship using the rage amplifiers. Jack, against Olivia's wishes, insisted on going too. I need to see how the amplifiers work in a major battle, he said. I can improve them if I understand exactly how the Vorkath respond. The night before the mission, Jack found Olivia looking at old photos. One showed her with a man and a young girl. My husband and daughter, she said quietly. They were in New York when the first attack hit. Jack didn't know what to say. Everyone had lost someone. Words felt empty. I'm not telling you this for sympathy, Olivia continued. I'm telling you because tomorrow when we face those monsters, I want them to feel every bit of what they took from us. Not just my pain. Everyone's. The attack began at dawn. The resistance fighters approached the processor ship, which was hovering over the ruins of a small town. As expected, Vorkath guards moved to protect it. Jack activated his rage amplifier, as did the others. The effect was immediate. The Vorkath guards stumbled, some falling to the ground. The resistance fighters pressed forward, not with wild anger, but with focused determination. For the first time, Jack saw inside a processor ship. What he found made him sick. Hundreds of humans in clear tubes connected to machines. Their faces frozen in expressions of terror. The machines pulsed with energy that flowed toward the ship's center. They're using them as batteries, Jack said, over the radio. Keeping them in a state of permanent fear. The resistance team planted explosives throughout the ship. As they worked, Jack studied the Vorkath technology. He noticed something strange about the energy flow. The Vorkath aren't just feeding on fear, he told Sam later, after the successful mission. They're addicted to it. Look at these readings. Their systems are designed to process emotional energy in a way that creates dependency. Sam looked thoughtful. Like drug addicts needing a fix. Exactly, Jack said. And like addicts, they need more and more to get the same effect. That's why they keep escalating the terror tactics. The destruction of the processor ship was the Resistance's biggest victory yet. Over 300 captured humans were freed. The Vorkath lost a major processing facility, and human morale soared for the first time in months. Olivia called a meeting of resistance leaders to plan their next move. Representatives from bases across North America gathered in the mountain facility. The Vorkath are vulnerable, Olivia told them. For the first time, we've hurt them in a way they can't easily recover from. Now we need to take the fight to their command ship. Jack watched as the leaders discussed the plan. It was dangerous, possibly suicidal. But it might work. The Vorkath had unleashed hell on Earth. Now humans were ready to fight back. That night, Sam burst into Jack's lab, eyes wide with excitement. I intercepted a transmission between Vorkath ships. They're talking about running low on resources. Some are suggesting retreat. Jack looked up from his work. You can understand their language now? Not exactly, Sam said, but the emotional patterns are clear. They're afraid, Jack. For the first time since they came here, the Vorkath are afraid of us. 14 months after the Vorkath invasion began, humanity had changed. The survivors were no longer just hiding. They were fighting back. Underground cities had formed in old mines, subway tunnels, and military bunkers. Farms were hidden in remote valleys. A new human society was taking shape beneath the ruins of the old one. Jack Harmon stood on a hill, watching as the sun rose over what used to be Seattle. The Vorkath ships still filled the sky, but not as many as before. Their number had been decreasing steadily for the past 2 months. Beautiful morning, Olivia said as she joined him. Her military uniform was patched in several places, but clean. Order and discipline remained important to her. Ready for today? Jack asked. Olivia nodded. All teams are in position. Laura's ships are ready to launch. It's time to take back our world. Today was the day of the counterattack. For months, the resistance had been planning, building, and training. Now human forces around the globe would strike at Vorkath installations at the same time. Laura Bennett's contribution was key to the plan. In secret facilities, she and her engineers had built a fleet of small ships. They weren't as advanced as Vorkath technology, but they had one special feature: emotional projection arrays. The ships will broadcast fake emotional signatures, Laura explained during the final briefing. The Vorkath will think they're detecting large groups of terrified humans. When they move to feed, they'll find our fighters waiting instead. The attack began at noon. Across the world, resistance forces moved against Vorkath targets. In the Seattle operation, Laura's ships took off from hidden runways, broadcasting emotional signals that confused the Vorkath fleet. Jack was part of a research team assigned to board a Vorkath vessel. Their job was to gather information about Vorkath technology and biology. As their helicopter approached the confused alien ship, Jack felt a mix of fear and determination. Remember, said Paul, who was leading the team, focus on anger and purpose. Don't let fear take over. They landed on the Vorkath ship and cut their way inside. The alien corridors were strange, organic-looking, with pulsing lights along the walls. The few Vorkath they encountered fled rather than fought. They really don't like when we project anger, Paul noted. Jack studied the ship's interior. Look at how the walls seem to be alive. I think the ships are partly biological. They might be extensions of the Vorkath themselves. The team collected samples and data. What they found would help Laura build better weapons. But Jack's most important discovery was about the Vorkath control system. The ships are linked to the Vorkath nervous system, Jack reported to Olivia after the mission. That's why our emotional attacks work so well. When we project anger, we're not just scaring them, we're hurting their ships too. Across the globe, the coordinated attack was succeeding. Sam's team had figured out how to broadcast manipulated, emotional signals that tricked Vorkath ships into attacking each other. Paul's Special Forces teams freed thousands of human prisoners from processing centers. For the first time since the invasion, the Vorkath were losing ground. Their command structure showed signs of breaking down. Some Vorkath ships fled Earth's orbit entirely. By the end of the week, human forces had retaken control of several orbital space stations and the lunar bases. Laura's ships now patrolled Earth's atmosphere, keeping watch for Vorkath counterattacks. Jack spent days studying the EAO, samples from the Vorkath ship, Working with biologists and engineers, he made a surprising discovery. The Vorkath evolved as symbiotic organisms, he told Olivia and Sam during a late-night meeting. Their biology shows signs of a mutually beneficial relationship with another species. But something changed. They became parasites instead of partners. How does that help us? Olivia asked. It means their current behavior isn't natural to them, Jack said. Something or someone changed them from peaceful symbiotes into emotional parasites. Sam nodded slowly. That matches patterns I've seen in their communications. There are two distinct styles. One is simple, direct. The other is complex and always related to feeding. Before they could discuss further, alarms sounded throughout the base. Laura's voice came over the speakers. Vorkath fleet approaching. At least 50 ships. They're targeting our largest population centers. It was a desperate counteroffensive. The Vorkath, faced with starvation as their feeding grounds diminished, were making a last push to reclaim what they had lost. The battle was fierce. Laura's ships engaged the Vorkath fleet above the ruins of major cities. On the ground, Paul's teams used rage amplifiers to disrupt Vorkath landing parties. Sam broadcast confusing emotional signals to break up Vorkath formations. Jack watched from the command center as the battle unfolded. The Vorkath fought with the desperation of addicts denied their fix, but humans fought with the determination of a species defending its home. By nightfall, the Vorkath attack had failed. 20 alien ships were destroyed. The rest retreated to high orbit, and human forces had captured something valuable. A high-ranking Vorkath commander. The alien was held in a special cell designed to block emotional wavelengths. It was taller than a human, with pale skin and large, sensitive eyes. It had 6 limbs and a head with no visible mouth. Sam spent hours near the cell, trying to communicate. Finally, he made a breakthrough. I found a way to talk to it, Sam told Jack and Olivia. Not with words, but with emotional patterns. It's primitive, but it works. What did it say? Jack asked. The invasion wasn't their idea, Sam said. They were ordered to attack Earth by something called the Hunger. From what I can understand, the Hunger is some kind of controlling intelligence that directs the Vorkath fleet. A leader? Olivia asked. More than that, Sam said. The Vorkath are afraid of it. I sensed terror when it communicated about the Hunger. It seems the Hunger forces the Vorkath to find new feeding grounds after they deplete a world. So they're victims too? Jack asked. Not exactly, Sam said. They're willing participants now, but they were changed, corrupted by the Hunger over time. It's located in their mothership, the massive vessel that stays in high orbit. Olivia looked thoughtful. So if we want to truly end this war, we need to deal with the Hunger directly. Jack nodded. And to do that, we need to get to the other ship. The three looked at each other. It seemed impossible. The mothership was the largest Vorkath vessel, heavily guarded and far from Earth. But if they could somehow reach it and destroy the Hunger, they might free both Earth and the Vorkath from its control. As if reading their thoughts, the captured Vorkath sent a simple emotional message that Sam translated. The Hunger always wins. The Hunger has consumed 1,000 worlds. You cannot fight it. Olivia smiled grimly. The Hunger hasn't met humans before. We'll see who wins. 2 years had passed since the day the Vorkath first appeared in Earth's skies. The planet was scarred but healing. Forests had begun to reclaim the ruins of cities. Wildlife had returned to places where battles once raged, and humanity had found its strength. Jack Harmon stood in the observation room watching the captured Vorkath. Over the past months, Sam had developed a more effective way to communicate with it. They had learned much. The Hunger was once a being like us, Sam explained, to the others. But it found a way to extend its life by feeding on emotions. It took over the Vorkath thousands of years ago, changing their peaceful nature. So the Vorkath were victims first, Olivia said. Yes, Sam replied. The Hunger rewired their biology to crave fear. It uses them to harvest worlds, then moves on when those worlds are drained. Jack had been developing a theory based on this information. If the Hunger can be affected by emotions, then it might have the same weaknesses as the Vorkath. But much stronger, Laura added. She had been adapting her emotional weaponry based on what they had learned. We'll need something more powerful than rage amplifiers to hurt it. The resistance leaders had gathered to plan their final assault. The target was the Vorkath mothership where the hunger resided. It would be humanity's most ambitious attack yet. We'll need 3 things, Olivia said, standing before the assembled leaders. First, a massive assault to distract the Vorkath fleet. Second, a way to get a team onto the mothership. And third, a weapon that can destroy the hunger. Laura presented her solution for the third problem. We've modified the emotional weapons. Instead of amplifying random anger, they now project a specific emotional signature, not fear or rage, but determined hope. Why hope? Someone asked. Because that's what the hunger can't process, Jack explained. It feeds on negative emotions. Positive ones are poison to it. Paul had been training an elite team for the infiltration mission. My team will enter the mothership and plant the emotional amplifiers at key points. We've practiced with the Vorkath ship we captured. The plan took shape. The assault would involve every surviving human fighter, but their most powerful weapon would be their minds. Each person will focus on the same emotional signature, Sam explained. Not blind rage, not fear, but something the hunger has never faced: human unity and hope. The day of the attack arrived. Across Earth, humans gathered in underground bases, in hidden valleys, in the remains of cities. Each person wore a small device Sam had designed, an emotional synchronizer that would help them all project the same feeling. Remember, Jack told the assembled fighters at the main base, the hunger expects us to be driven by fear or anger. That's what it knows, that's what it feeds on. Today we show it something new. The assault began at dawn. Laura's ships rose into the sky, joined by every aircraft humans had managed to rebuild. On the ground, fighters moved into position around Vorkath landing zones. The Vorkath responded as expected, sending ships to engage the human forces. But something was different this time. The Vorkath ships moved erratically, as if confused. It's working, Sam said from the command center. The unified emotional projection is disrupting their coordination. High above Earth, Paul's team approached the mothership in a stolen Vorkath shuttle. The massive vessel was the size of a small city, with strange growths and structures covering its surface. Remember the plan, Paul told his team. We get in, plant the amplifiers, and get out. Jack needs 15 minutes for the emotional cascade to reach the hunger. The infiltration team entered the mothership through a maintenance port. Inside, they found corridors that pulsed with life. The ship itself was partly alive, an extension of the hunger's body. While Paul's team worked, Jack and Sam monitored the battlefield from the command center. By analyzing data from the sensors Laura had placed on her ships, they made a startling discovery. The hunger doesn't just feed on fear, Jack said. It feeds on rage, too, any strong negative emotion. But it's poisoned by hope and solidarity, Sam added. Look at these readings. When our people project unity, the Vorkath ships actually lose power. On the mothership, Paul's team had reached the central chamber. There they saw the hunger for the first time. It was a massive brain-like structure, connected to the ship by thousands of pulsing tubes. Around it, Vorkath attendants worked at control panels. The team quickly placed emotional amplifiers around the chamber, then started their retreat. But they were spotted. Vorkath guards closed in from all directions. We're cut off, Paul radioed, to the command center. No way back to the shuttle, Jack thought quickly. Find a place to hide. When the amplifiers activate, the Vorkath might be distracted enough for you to escape. Back on Earth, the unified emotional assault reached its peak. Every human focused their thoughts on the same feeling, not blind optimism, but the determined hope that comes from facing the worst and still believing in a better future. The amplifiers on the mothership activated, creating a feedback loop that carried this emotional signature directly to the hunger. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The hunger convulsed. The tubes connecting it to the ship burst, spraying dark fluid. The Vorkath attendants fell to the floor, clutching their heads. What's happening? Olivia asked as they watched the sensor. Readings from the mothership. The feedback loop, Jack explained. The hunger feeds on negative emotions but can't process positive ones. We've essentially given it food poisoning on a massive scale. The Vorkath ships around Earth stopped attacking. Some began to drift aimlessly. Others turned toward the mothership, as if receiving new orders. Inside the mothership, Paul's team watched in amazement as the Vorkath guards stopped pursuing them. Some of the aliens seemed confused while others appeared to be waking from a long sleep. Their eyes looked different, one team member noted. Clearer. On the main display in Earth's command center, they saw something unexpected. Vorkath ships were firing on the mothership, targeting specific areas where the hunger's influence was strongest. They're helping us, Sam said in wonder. The Vorkath are fighting the hunger. The battle was brief but intense, with its control broken by the emotional assault. The hunger could no longer command absolute loyalty. Vorkath, who had been under its control for generations, were suddenly free to think for themselves. By sunset, it was over. The mothership's core, where the hunger resided, had been destroyed by combined Vorkath and human attacks. Paul's team was rescued by Vorkath, who had turned against their former master. In the days that followed, most Vorkath ships left Earth's orbit. They sent a simple message before departing: freedom, gratitude, sorrow. Some Vorkath remained, offering to help rebuild what they had helped destroy. They explained through emotional communications that they wished to atone for the damage they had caused, even though they had been under the hunger's control. 6 months later, Jack, Olivia, Sam, Laura, and Paul stood on a hill overlooking a valley where humans and Vorkath worked together to build a new city. They're not so bad when they're not trying to eat our fear, Laura remarked. They were victims too, Sam said. Just for much longer than we were. Olivia looked up at the stars. The hunger consumed 1,000 worlds before Earth. How many other species are out there who suffered like we did? Maybe that's our next mission, Jack said. To find them, to help them. Earth was healing. Humanity had not just survived, but had grown stronger, and they had gained unlikely allies in the vastness of space. The Vorkath had unleashed hell on Earth. They had given humanity the one thing it needed, a reason to fight back. But in fighting back, humans had done something even more remarkable. They had freed both themselves and their enemies from a darkness that had lasted for thousands of years, and they had done it not just with weapons and technology, but with the power of the human spirit.